by the parent society. So, sorry, I got the, okay. So as I was saying, it's important to understand the role of this lodge because that was the center of the Theosophical Society in the Western world at that moment. And in June 1883, the name of this London of this British Theosophical Society was changed to London Lodge of the Theosophical Society. This lodge played a crucial role ensuring the as I was ensuring the society's survival and influence in the Western world by attracting prominent intellectuals and public figures who were interested in spiritual and philosophical explorations. It was located in London, that was at the time a major cultural and intellectual hub. It helped bridge Eastern and Western worlds, the Eastern spiritual teachings with Western audience, fostering interest in theosophy among a broader educated public. The lodge also provided a steady base of support and resources for the society in Europe, especially during that time of internal conflict and public skepticism, helping to maintain the society's visibility and credibility in the West and contributing to its international expansion. Actually, in the letter 120, Master KH states that the state of the General Society of England, quite different from that of India, where our existence is a matter of common and, so to say, of inherent belief among the population, and in a number of cases of positive knowledge, requires quite a different policy in the presentation of occult science. And that is why in letter 199, he asks SINNET not only to renounce any thought of candidacy, but to support the wish of his superior, the Chauhan, that Mrs. Kingsford be re-elected. Because she not only represented the Christian esotericism, but also it was due to her work for anti-vivisection and vegetarianism that had won entirely over to her side the stern master, the Maha Chauhan. Another reason for the Chauhan himself to want the re-election of Anna Kingsford was also that she is fitted for the purpose we have at heart, namely the dissemination of true esoteric doctrines conveyed by whatever religious channel and the effacement of crass materialism, blind prejudices, and skepticism. But that was about to change, and this change of mind what we can see in the letters 121 and 122. The proposal of having half the councillors will have worked, but early December 1883, Mrs. Kingsford and the vice president of the lodge, Mr. Edward Maitland, that was also kind of her collaborator. They used to write together and make research together. They issue a circular which embodied a severe criticism of the teachings contained in SINNET's new book, Esoteric Buddhism. This will not improve the harmony of the lodge. In January, Subarro issued a pamphlet helped by another scholar, that is to say, one of the masters who helped him, issuing a pamphlet replying to that circular sent by Kingsford and Maitland. And this circular is that they sent commenting the book of Esoteric Buddhism of Mr. SINNET, was clearly the reason why letters 121 and 122 show this change of mind of the masters regarding Anna Kingsford's re-election for presidency of the London Lodge. So after asking SINNET to support her re-election, they realized that with the publication of this circular, they realized that she was not the best one suited for the task. And also there was this concern that she may be willing to use the London Lodge to teach Hermetic philosophy. So the master said that was the way that Karma had in order to make the entire lodge to move in a new direction in order to fulfill the real mission that the London Lodge had at that time. So the original telegram from the Mahatma saying that Mrs. Kingsford must remain president seemed to have complicated things. So on January, at the time of the writing of his letter, the Mahatma sent a second telegram to London, the text of which was postpone the election, letter follows. That was all. And it too was sent at the director of the direction guided by the Mahachohan. Anna Kingsford, as we said, did not be a double person. Since this proposal that they had, the masters had of having, or this idea that they had of having two groups of counselors in harmony was broken by the circular that she and her co-author distributed among the London group. So in the letter 122, the Mahatma KH writes, this letter of 16th December 1883 has greatly altered the case, always on the strength of the principle of impartial justice involved. We find ourselves obliged not to ratify literally our decision as to her re-election, but to add to it certain clauses and make it henceforth impossible for the president and members to misconceive our mutual position. Let's see a little bit, or remember a little bit who was Anna Kingsford. She is described in the letter 122 as a woman of great force of character. She was an activist for women's rights and one of the first women of her time to graduate from medical school. Her two most defended causes were, as mentioned already, anti-vivisection and vegetarianism. She went through whole medical school without never make a test in an animal because that was her deep conviction. And actually these two facts, the vegetarianism and anti-vivisection, gained the sympathy of the masters. Master KH expressed on this respect in the letter 119 as follows. You should know that her anti-vivisection struggle and her strict vegetarian diet have won entirely over her side, our stern master. She founded the Hermetic Theosophical Society first within the London Lodge, and after all this issue was solved and she was not re-elected the president, she founded it as an independent body of the Theosophical Society. She was also the first one to introduce the term lodge to the Theosophical Society. Until date, all groups were called branches, but she introduced this term lodge, reminding us the fact that the Great Brotherhood is referred as the lodge with capital L. She was extremely skeptical about the Mahatmas. That was something that HPV never forgave her. She never forgave her attitude towards the Mahatmas. And she never had contact with the Mahatmas, even though she was expecting to have it. But she didn't have, and the Mahatma explains that they may be due to their little affinity between their natures. But that was not what triggered the change of mind of the Mahatmas in her re-election. On this respect, letter 122 states, the question involved being that of justice, Mr. Kingsford, ignorance of our real character, our doctrines and status, or the underline as they do all her uncomplimentary remarks in connection with the present writer and his colleagues, made them of not even the weight of a flake of cotton in the matter of her re-election. So that was not the real issue. The information contained in the circular clearly seemed to be in discordance with actions showing loyalty to the parent organization. That was the real cause. And that was the turning point for the change of mind of the master regarding this lady. They say, However little we might care for personal subserviency to us, the accepted leaders of the founders of the parent Theosophical Society, we can never approve or tolerate disloyalty in any member of whatsoever branch to the fundamental principles represented by the parent organization. The rules of the mother body must be lived up to by those composing its branches, provided, of course, that they do not transcend the three declared objects of the organization. That is written in letter 121. And in letter 122, the master adds, the experience of the parent society proves that the usefulness of a branch very largely, if not entirely, depends upon the loyalty, discretion, and zeal of its president and secretary, however much their colleagues may do to assist them. The efficient activity of their group develops proportionately with that of those offices. So that's why it's very important who is going to assume the presidency of the London Lodge. So as we come to know, thanks to the letters, thanks to the letter 121, there is the purpose is to transmit a separate letter. That is the 122 to the London Lodge. Sorry, to SINNET. And this time it is said that SINNET is to act in his capacity as vice president of the parent society rather than as a lodge member. He was also a lodge member of the London Lodge, but this time he was in an official capacity. The affairs of the London Lodge were still in somewhat of a turmoil. As a matter of fact, the Mahachohan has advised postponement of the election because, as we already saw, these two factions, one led by Mrs. Kingsford and the other one by Mr. SINNET, were more or less at loggerheads with each other. And these events had not led to the magnetic harmony that the Madhama mentions in the letter 120. There he speaks about a magnetic harmony that they wanted to attain with this proposal of having these two groups of counselors. So the letter 121 begins as follows. My dear friend, the enclosure, meaning the letter 122, is to be transmitted to the London Lodge of the Theosophical Society through you in your capacity of Vice President of the Parent Society, and therefore representative of the President Founder, not as a member of the branch of London. This shows us that the matter is of great and official importance and transcends the mere interest of a specific lodge. As we already saw, the London branch was of vital importance for the survival of the Theosophical Society in the West. And that is why in concluding letter 121, Master KH, fully aware of SINNET's somewhat disdainful attitude toward Olcott as a brother and Polish American, asks that he should dignify the office of the president, since in that capacity he represents the entire society. He adds that it is by virtue of that office, if for no other reason, that Olco stands with Upasika, meaning HPV, closest to ourselves in the chain of the theosophical work. Then the letter continues like that. The recent occurrences in which you have borne a part not altogether pleasant may be distressing to some and tiresome to others. Yet it is better so than that the old paralytic calm should have continued. An outbreak of fever in the human body is nature's evidence that she is trying to expel the seeds of disease and perhaps death and terribly absorb. As things were, the London branch was but vegetating, and the vast possibilities of psychic evolution in Britain were completely untried. Karma evidently required that the repose should be broken by the agency of the one most responsible for it, Sissy Macy, and so it was he who brought Mrs. Kingsford to her present position. She was not accomplished, her object, but karma has its own. Henceforth, the London group aroused, stimulated, and warned, have a clear field in which to exercise their activities. The Mahatma's statement was very clear. The current turmoil within the London Lodge is better than the old paralytic calm that has prevailed previously, comparing it with the fever of the human body as it acts as nature's evidence that she's trying to expel the seeds of disease. And it is clear that from a theosophical perspective, the master's statement that serves as a reminder that life sometimes needs a shake to prompt growth. This applies both to our spiritual journeys and to our daily lives. When things become complicated or challenging, we should recognize that these are the very catalysts for evolution and progress. I recall reading a book in my teenage years called The Islam in the Feminine, where a deeply spiritual woman expressed gratitude for difficult moments towards God because she saw them as reminders from God that she existed and that he was given, or God was giving this woman the possibility for growth and transformation. So similarly, as theosophists, we understand that suffering and conflict hold immense potential to inspire change and evolution. They refine us, they make us more capable of fulfilling our roles in the divine plan, allowing us to grow into wiser, more compassionate beings aligned with our higher purpose. And surely something similar was happening with the London Lodge as per karma's needs, as the master mentions in the letter in some occasions. So from the organizational point of view, we can also add that so often when controversies erupt in the society at whatever level, national or international, we feel only dismay at the lack of harmony, saying that such difference or such difficulties will not arise if we all acted in a brotherly manner. But the Mahatmas, with these words, they are indicating the possible benefit that discord may have. Actually, in the letter 120, the master says that discord is the harmony of the universe. If we can learn how to handle controversy without becoming personally embroiled in it, a new level of activity or understanding may be achieved. And of course, karma is always involved because karma is a dynamic force. And this quote that discord is the harmony of the universe, it reminds me this interplay of the Greeks between the chaos and the cosmos. So from the chaos, the cosmos comes to existence. And this dichotomy kind of thing illustrates the continuous unfolding and improvement of the universe. Chaos, often perceived as disorder, is not merely destructive, but serves as a powerful force that drives growth and transformation. This apparent disorder challenges established structures, providing the energy necessary for new formations and advancement to emerge. Chaos, in fact, acts as a catalyst, pushing the boundaries of cosmos, that is the order and harmonious state of the universe, to evolve, to adapt, to expand. In this way, evolution becomes a dynamic balance between order and disorder, where progress is born from the tension between these opposing forces. And this relationship really helps us understand that discord is a fundamental part of your universal harmony, as the Mahatma states, true harmony is not the absence of conflict, but the integration of opposing force into a balanced and evolving dance that sustains the cosmos. So when we view this course as an integral part to a larger harmonious structure, it reveals a transformative role toward more complex and enriched states of order. And this perspective aligns with the karma as a dynamic force and serves to the higher purpose of evolution, and that the master's guidance on SINNET, as the master expresses in the letter, this master guidance on SINNET, they say that his karma hints at the unfolding roles within the Theosophical movement. And his karma should be adapted and shaped by the needs and challenges of the Theosophical Society. So, however, almost towards the end of the letter, there is an advice to SINNET that can be of use and may resonate with everyone, the spiritual life, after he talks and he says that SINNET has like part of his duty and his karma has to do with a future important work that he is going to do within the Theosophical Society. But after that, he offers an advice to SINNET that can be of use. And he says, my desire is that you should be gathering together all the reserve force of your being so that you may rise to the dignity and importance of the crisis. However little you may seem to achieve physically in this birth, remember that your interior growth proceeds every instant, and that toward the end of your life, as in your next birth, your accumulated merit shall bring you all you aspire to. This shows us that our attitudes, actions, and reactions in every moment affect our spiritual development, as well as the accumulated merit, and why not the merit also, that we bring into our lives. So from a theosophical perspective, the quote speaks to the idea that the spiritual growth is an ongoing accumulative process that transcends any lifetime, any single lifetime. And the reference to gathering together all the reserved forces of your being suggests the cultivation of one's inner strength and virtues. This aligns with the view that the spiritual progress is made through self-discipline and perseverance, where each effort, no matter how small, contributes to a larger continuous journey of self-transformation and soul evolution and the divine plan. And when it is said that the recognition that your interior growth proceeds every instant, this echoes the theosophical belief in karma and reincarnation, of course, where actions and effort in one life lay the groundwork for future spiritual advancements. And that transcends the personality, because that is aligned with the divine plan, that is the evolution itself, no matter what is our personality or our personal desire. This idea, I found it very connected to the golden stairs given by Blavatsky, which outlines a path of spiritual ethics and development. Each step in the golden stairs, from a clean life, an open mind, to an eager intellect, etc., represents qualities that must be nurtured to gather the reserved forces necessary for spiritual evolution. The mention of accumulated merit refers to the gradual building of these virtues over lifetimes, where efforts in the present contribute to future enlightenment and the realization of one's highest aspiration. So the letter 121 concludes by advising that Olco's position should be dignified, as we already mentioned, and that he should engage with various members during his visit. And also, Master KH also introduces Mohini, the Chela who was introduced to SINNET in the letter 94. and who was a part of the tour of lectures that were happening in Europe with the purpose of giving European members a deeper understanding of the occult doctrines. He had this special mission given by the Mahatmas, which also was very important for the growth and expansion of the TS in the West. This role of building these bridges. The final elements of the letter highlight the significance of Colonel Olcott's presence, which was crucial for the successful execution of the Theosophical Society's mission in the West, particularly under the stewardship of the London Lodge. Following the Mahatma's advice, the Lodge awaited Olcott's arrival. This is not included in the letters, but we come to know that they follow this Mahatma's advice to stop the election, and it only was done after Olcott's arrival in April 7, 1884, when he presided over the proceedings of the election. But this moment will be revisited in the next session. So just to finalize with a little bit more of the context of this travel to the London Lodge from Olcott. This is not included in the letters themselves, but it's part of the context of what was happening. If we check the book All Diary Lives in the volume 3, the Colonel Olcott recounts the entire situation leading up to the election, before departing from Nice to London. And before this, he sent a circular letter to all members of the London Lodge, requesting their confidential opinions about the situation to be sent to him. And he carried all these letters that he received with him on the train to London. And Olcott expressed also, so he gathered all the information about what was the situation, because he was acting in the name of the society and in the name of this mission given by the masters in some way. And during the journey that while he was traveling, he expressed also his complete confidence to the masters. And just let me check, I don't know if, oh yeah, to the master. And he received a letter also, which contained essential advice for addressing the ongoing challenges, illustrating the master's active involvement in the society affairs. So the Colonel Olcott commented, because this letter that he received was unexpectedly fell from the roof of the railway carriage, landing near Mohini. So it was like a letter that he received in a very unexpected way. So he had a lot of confidence that the masters will solve this issue. He completely trusted the masters, but after receiving this letter, he says, it was as if intended as a marked response to the loyal thought of the writer of the letter I was reading at the moment. I wish that everybody in the society could realize how certain it is that those great brothers who are behind our work keep a vigilant eye upon all of us who with a pure heart and unselfish mind throw our energies into it. What more comforting than to know that our labors are not in vain, nor our aspirations unheeded. So, and also the Colonel had earlier received a letter from the Mahatma phenomenally while still on shipboard on the way from India to England. And he says, if I had the least doubt of it before, it will have been dispelled by this letter. That is another letter which told him, put all needed restraint upon your feelings so that you may do the right thing in this Western imbroglio. So referring to the London Lodge situation. Watch your first impressions. The mistakes you made are from failure to do this. Let neither your personal predilections, affections, suspicions, nor antipathies affect your action. Misunderstandings have grown between the fellows, both in London and Paris, which imperil the interest of the movement. Try to remove such misconceptions, as you will find by kind persuasion and an appeal to the feeling of loyalty to the cause of truth, if not to us. Make all these men feel that we have no favorites, nor affections for persons, but only for their good acts and for humanity as a whole. So on one side, this reminds us of the trust in the masters, trust in the higher. And it serves also as a reminder that sincere and selfless effort in service to the society's mission is not only valued, but also protected and nurtured by these higher beings. The Mahatma's vigilance provides reassurance that every pure-hearted contribution has an enduring impact on the larger spiritual journey. This passage also speaks to the spiritual importance of prioritizing the common good and the greater welfare over the personal interest or desires, emphasizing that true spiritual progress is intertwined with the willingness to set aside self-centered motivations for the advancement of the collective mission. And is in this direction of the greater being over the personal desire that we will go on the next session with the remaining points of the letter 122 that we touched upon a little bit today. But we will stop here with this part. So next time we will continue with what is missing of this letter 122, especially regarding this point that I have just mentioned. So that was all for today. Thank you very much. And okay, we'll stop sharing now.
Thank you, Sister Catalina, for sharing your insightful observations on these letters. Now I request Meenakshi ji for Hindi translation. Meenakshi ji.
नमस्ते, थैंक यू सिस्टर कैटलिना। आज हम लेटर नंबर 121 ले रहे हैं, जो कि मास्टर के एच एपी सिनेट को लिखते हैं। क्रोनोलॉजिकल लेटर नंबर 119 से लेकर लेटर नंबर 122, यह 4 पत्र लंदन लॉज थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी और उसके प्रशासनिक मुद्दों पर है, जिस पर मास्टर के एच और महाचौहान की राय शामिल है। एना किंग्सफोर्ड लगभग 1 साल लंदन लॉज की अध्यक्ष रही। उन्हें लाने में सीसीएम का यानी सीसीएमएसी का हाथ था। सीनेट भी इस दौरान लंदन में आ गए थे और वे लंदन लॉज की बागडोर संभालना चाहते थे। परिणाम स्वरूप लॉज में विभाजन हुआ। मास्टर के एच ने मिसेस किंग्सफोर्ड के नेतृत्व में एक ग्रुप एसोटेरिक क्रिश्चियनिटी तो दूसरा ग्रुप मिस्टर सीनेट के नेतृत्व में बनाने को कहा। 7 दिसंबर 1883 में लिखित पत्र यानी लेटर नंबर 119 में मास्टर के एच ने महाचौहान की इच्छा को व्यक्त किया था कि एपी सीनेट के बजाय मिसेस किंग्सफोर्ड को प्रेसिडेंट होना चाहिए, क्योंकि वे एंटी विविसेक्शन यानी वैज्ञानिक प्रयोगों के लिए जानवरों की चीरफाड़ के विरोध में काम कर रही थी और शाकाहार को प्रोत्साहन दे रही थी। साथ ही ईसाइयों को परिचित एसोटेरिक क्रिश्चियनिटी पर जोर देती थी, जिससे उन्हें इंग्लैंड में सोसाइटी के आंदोलन में नेतृत्व करने में सक्षम बना दिया और इस तरह महाचौहान ने उनका पक्ष लिया। इस तरह मास्टर के एच ने मिसेस किंग्सफोर्ड और मिस्टर सीनेट को टेलीग्राम भेजे कि मिसेस किंग्सफोर्ड ने प्रेसिडेंट बने रहना है। लेकिन दिसंबर 16 को लंदन लॉज की प्रेसिडेंट मिसेस किंग्सफोर्ड और वाइस प्रेसिडेंट एडवर्ड मेटलैंड ने एक सर्कुलर जारी किया, जिसमें मिस्टर सीनेट की नई पुस्तक एसोटेरिक बुद्धिज्म में निहित शिक्षाओं की कड़ी आलोचना की गई थी, जिससे परिस्थिति को और भी बिगाड़ दिया। मिसेस किंग्सफोर्ड और मिस्टर सीनेट के नेतृत्व वाले दो गुटों में सामंजस्यता नहीं थी, जिस कारण महाचौहान ने अध्यक्ष पद के लिए यानी प्रेसिडेंटशिप के लिए चुनाव स्थगित करने की सलाह दी। मास्टर कहते हैं कि सीनेट को कहते हैं कि माय डियर फ्रेंड, संलग्न पत्र यानी लेटर नंबर 122 आपके माध्यम से पेरेंट सोसाइटी के वाइस प्रेसिडेंट के रूप में और प्रेसिडेंट फाउंडर के प्रतिनिधि के रूप में लंदन लॉज थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी को सौंपा जाना है, न कि लंदन ब्रांच के एक सदस्य के रूप। हाल ही की घटनाएं जिनमें आपने भाग लिया वे पूरी तरह से हितकर नहीं थी। कुछ लोगों को तनावपूर्ण तो दूसरों को कष्टप्रद हो सकती है, फिर भी यह उस पुराने निरर्थक मनमुटाव के बने रहने से काफी बेहतर है। मानव शरीर में बुखार का प्रकोप प्रकृति का प्रमाण है कि वह बीमारी और शायद मृत्यु के बीजों को बाहर निकालने की कोशिश कर रही है। देखा जाए तो लंदन ब्रांच अकार्यशील थी और ब्रिटेन में आंतरिक विकास की व्यापक संभावनाओं का प्रयास नहीं किया गया था। जाहिर है कि कर्म को इस ठहराव को इसके लिए सबसे अधिक जिम्मेदार व्यक्ति सीसी मेसी के मार्फत भंग करना था, और इसलिए यह वह व्यक्ति है जिन्होंने मिसेस किंग्सफोर्ड को प्रेसिडेंट के पद पर लाया। मिसेस किंग्सफोर्ड ने अपने उद्देश्य की पूर्ति नहीं की है, लेकिन कर्म ने अपना उद्देश्य पूरा किया। इसके उपरांत लंदन ग्रुप जागृत हुआ है, प्रेरित हुआ है और चेतावनी भी दी गई है, और अपने कार्यकलाप करने के लिए कार्यक्षेत्र भी दिए गए। मेरे मित्र, आपको यूरोपीय थियोसॉफिकल मामलों में और भी अधिक महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाने के लिए आपका अपना कर्म नियुक्त करता है। ऑलकॉट के आगामी दौरे से महत्वपूर्ण उपलब्धियां होगी, जिसे कार्यान्वित करने में आपको हाथ बटाना होगा। मेरी इच्छा है कि आप अपनी संपूर्ण शक्तियां एकजुट करें ताकि आप इस संकट समय का सामना आत्मविश्वास से करें। इस जन्म में आप आंतरिक रूप से चाहे कितनी भी कम उपलब्धि हासिल कर पाए, याद रखें कि आपका आंतरिक विकास हर पल होता रहता है, और आपके जीवन के अंत में आपके अगले जन्म की तरह ही आपका संचित पुण्य आपको वह सब कुछ दिलाएगा जिसकी आप आकांक्षा रखते हैं। कर्नल ऑलकॉट के साथ मोहिनी मोहन चटर्जी भी होंगे, जिन्हें मैंने अपना चेला स्वीकार किया है। ऑलकॉट के पद का सम्मान रखने के लिए आप जो कर सकते हैं वे वह करें, क्योंकि वे पूरे सोसाइटी का प्रतिनिधित्व करते हैं, और अपने अधिकारी पद के कारण वे उपासिका यानी मैडम ब्लेवेट्स्की का साथ दे रहे हैं, और किसी कारण से नहीं, जो थियोसॉफिकल कार्य की श्रृंखला में हमारे सबसे करीब है। थैंक यू। नमस्ते।
Thank you, Meenakshi ji, for excellent and nice translation. Now the forum is open for discussion. Participants can ask questions from speakers, or if they want to add something, they are most welcome.
Catalina ji, I must congratulate you today again after Tuesday program. Yes, within this week, this is really the remarkable time for me to listen to you again. And really, it is a very important matter when we go through these letters, because every time we have to learn certain things. This particular maxim, it becomes the maxim. Suppose that letter number 120, that title itself is the maxim. Discord is the harmony of the universe. So in this way, we should not be afraid of differences. And so far as karma is the dynamic force, that is given, which is it is suggested that contradictions are like the blessings that we have to understand. Now I want one more understanding from that particular point where the Western imbroglio was just, I think it spread in that way, whether historically, whether culturally, or whether from the psychological point of view. So can we have a kind of brief discussion about Western imbroglio regarding this non-vegetarian food or any other dogmas from the Christianity?
Western what?
Yes, Western imbroglio that
Imbroglio,
Mahatma
okay.
used this. Yeah. So because that is a kind of disturbance, that is a kind of anarchy, that is a kind of Western disturbance in the way that is a psychological disturbance. And especially this word is used by the Mahatma. That is really very important. And when this industrialization was going on at that time in London, and spiritually what we had the legacy, but we were supposed to be very poor country, very backward country, superstitious country in that way. But what Mahatma suggests here is very important. So that is the Western imbroglio is really very crucial word that is used in this letter number 121. So really, this is really the particular point. Yes.
I'm not sure if I
Would you share?
understood your
Yes.
question because I related it more when because the word is actually it's like an Italianism kind of thing, the imbroglio, which means an extremely confused, complicated, or embarrassing situation. So in this context, I also related with the situation that was happening specifically in the London Lodge, relating these kind of conflicts that were there. But I'm not sure if I understood that, I mean, you are like maybe also relating it to the Western culture in general. Is that so?
Isn't there the same situation prevailing nowadays also? Because that is what we understand from that point of view. The struggle between Anna Kingsford and AP SINNET, that seemed more than 150 years, let us count in the time of the years. So the same situation goes on even in this modern time, because here it becomes a kind of struggle between the particular understanding in the society, how to live and how to live the spiritual life. Life is there, but yes.
Oh, got it. So you are also like
Yeah.
taking it the current times. Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, and now I understood that you were mentioning this question of the vegetarianism, etc.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Actually, I mean, personally, I think, of course, maybe that's why even at that time, it was the masters were very worried of preserving this harmony between the London Lodge because, as we said, no, in India the situation was much more suitable for this kind of teachings that
Yes.
were in the West, and I think that is still there, this kind of situation. However, I also think that with the time and there is a book, a biography of HPB written by Sylvia Cranston, in which she calls her the mother of the new era, and she explains how many ideas that were not yet even understood or even imagined to be pronounced or taken on Occident in the Western world were kind of pronounced and explained by the first time by her in the Theosophical movement. So in a sense, yes, there is this dualism that was at the time, of course. There is still in some Western cultures and countries this difficulty, but due to this influential, I mean, I guess all this effort that the Mahatmas put in solving this problem of the London Lodge was really worth and was really important because thanks to that, in somehow all these ideals, spiritual teachings that the Theosophical Society brought to the Western culture, because that was kind of the reason why the master searched for 100 years as old, like Blavatsky, to bring into the Western culture these teachings from the ancient wisdom. So I guess that also makes that in the current times, even if there is still this
Right.
difficulty, there are much more possibilities that these kind of teachings are understood, or at least considered. Maybe not necessarily in the deeper sense, because I know, I mean, I heard, like, even in TV shows, how they use the word karma in a very light way.
Yes.
But before it was impossible, or they talk about, oh, in my past life, I must have been blah, 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 or whatever. But at least they are beginning to be a part of the collective mind, even in the Western society. So that's it. That's a step, at least. Before, it was whoever used to name karma or reincarnation or past lives, or it was like a strange person. So in a way, this struggle that the master had in that moment, preserving the London Lodge,
Right.
is having a present impact, because in somehow these ideas were spread. But I agree with you that still, for instance, from the point of view of the Christian religion or the Abrahamic religions, understanding subjects like reincarnation or karma is not easy, even though we know that in the original writings of those religions, reincarnation is mentioned, and all these teachings are mentioned, but they have been distorted with times. So yes, the Western imbroglio is still there, and if we take something for our
Yes.
modern times, because as you mentioned, the Mahatma letters, they give always so much possibilities and so much insights, is that we as members of the Theosophical Society, having today the opportunity to spread this kind of teachings even more due to all the communications, etc., continue to have this in mind. I mean, we don't let these kind of opportunities that we have now to be lost. Let's honor all these efforts that the Mahatmas did in the beginning of the Theosophical Society in our everyday life, practicing and disseminating all the principles, etc. I don't know if I answered your question, but I just share some of the insights that came, that your comment triggered in me.
Very good.
And I thank you for
It is
bringing
very
this
natural.
possibility. Yeah.
Thank you. Very, very nice and very inspirational force. That is really wonderful. And lastly, if the time permits, Susma ji, should I ask one more question? It is not a question, it is my observation. Here, Master says that
No, time
he
will be
has said
over.
that. Okay,
Time will-
Pradeep ji, sorry. Okay. Next time we'll take up. Okay, thank you.
Pradeep sir, do you
Thanks.
want to add something? Or shall I
Yes,
start?
one more small question.
Yes.
May I?
Yes, you can ask one question. Although time is over, but you can ask one question.
No.
Time is over.
Sir. Okay, so you can ask one question. Madhav sir, you can ask.
Yes. Thank you. Once in a very small line. Karma requires that repose should be broken by the agency of one most responsible. What does it mean? Short comments. Karma requires that the repose should be broken by the agency of one most responsible.
Karma?
Karma required that the repose should be broken by agency of one most responsible. This line I could not follow.
Yeah. The exact, let me see if I can find the exact quote so I can, it was talking about C.C. Macy. That was out here. I guess I found it. Let me just share it. Which number is this? Is number 7. I'll just share it quickly so we can read it, because Share. I guess it's this one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, by the end, towards the end, it says karma, where I am pointing now, karma required that the repose should be broken by the agency of the most responsible for it, CC Macy. The karma was, I mean, all this chaos that was happening was due to karma because the order should be reestablished and somehow the London Lodge needed to be shaken in order to fulfill the purpose. And when they say that CC Mason was the more responsible, it means that all the situation was triggered by what Anna Kingsley and her co-author did, that was the publication of this circular regarding AP Sinnet's book. And that's why they say the most responsible lead is CC Macy, because he was the one who suggested that Anna Kingsford should be the president of the lodge. So that's why in somehow they say that he is the most responsible, because he was the responsible of putting her in the presidency, and she was the one who brought this whole issue to the lodge. That's what they mean by that.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Catalina, Sister Catalina. Sanjay sir, do you want to add something? Pradeep sir?
No,
Pradeep,
we
sir?
close. We have to close because
Okay. Okay.
time.
Thank you. Now, closing today. Asato ma sadgame, tamso ma jyotirgame, mrityorma amritam game. From the unreal lead us to the real, from darkness lead us to light, from death lead us to immortality. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashchid dukkha bhavet. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Thank you, Sister Catalina, and thank you all.